At least 45 people were arrested on Capitol Hill Monday in a sit-in calling on Democrats to pursue the impeachment of President Bush and Vice President Dick Cheney. The demonstrators were jailed after refusing to leave the office of House Judiciary Chair John Conyers following a meeting with him. Conyers had floated the idea of impeachment last year, but House Speaker Nancy Pelosi dismissed the talk during the midterm elections when she declared impeachment off the table. Among those arrested on Monday was Cindy Sheehan. It was less than 2 months ago that she announced she was stepping down as the face of the country's anti-war movement. She cited the draining lifestyle and the lack of public will for ending the Iraq War. Well, Cindy Sheehan is back. She arrived in Washington Sunday following a 2-week cross-country march dubbed the Journey for Humanity and Accountability. The tour began in Crawford, Texas. It was there she'd set up the peace camp next to President Bush's Crawford estate 2 summers ago. She named it Camp Casey in honor of her son, Casey Sheehan, killed in Iraq in Sadr City, April 4th, 2004. Shortly before her arrest on Monday, Cindy Sheehan confirmed she'll challenge House Speaker Nancy Pelosi for her congressional seat in the next election unless Pelosi agrees to begin the impeachment process against the president and the vice president. Although it's rarely discussed in the corporate media, a grassroots movement for impeachment has been rapidly building. A recent poll by the American Research Group found about 45% of the country supports the U.S. House of Representatives beginning impeachment proceedings against Bush and Cheney. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, 15 co-sponsors have signed on to Congressmember Dennis Kucinich's bill of impeachment against Vice President Cheney, and more than 80 towns and cities have passed pro-impeachment resolutions. Well, today we'll look at the impeachment movement. Cindy Sheehan joins us in our New York studio. We're also joined here by Democratic strategist Dan Gerstein. He's a former aide to Senator Joseph Lieberman and a regular columnist at the website Politico. He recently wrote a column entitled "Impeachment Question Divides Democrats." Former CIA analyst Ray McGovern also joins us from Washington. He was arrested along with Cindy Sheehan Monday at Congressman Conyers' office. He is co-founder of Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, or VIPS. We welcome you all to Democracy Now! Cindy Sheehan, first, well, I spoke to you when you announced your basically retirement as the public face of the peace movement in this country. What happened?
Well, you know, and on your show, I did say that we were almost doing this, like closing up the factory, retooling, and we were going to come back stronger and in a new direction. We didn't plan on coming back with our new organization, People for Humanity, until August. We're going to Jordan and Syria to visit Iraqi refugee camps to expose those crimes against humanity of the Bush administration. That the refugee crisis in the Middle East is a disaster. It's a humanitarian crisis. And when George Bush commuted Scooter Libby's sentence, we came back sooner than we expected. And we started our journey on July 10th from Crawford, symbolically walking away from that part of our activism to a new part. And I announced before we left that if Nancy Pelosi didn't put impeachment on the table, I would run against her as an independent in California's 8th.
And you have announced?
We announced informally right after the meeting with John Conyers on Monday, and I will announce formally next week from the district.
Why do you feel impeachment is so important?
Well, you know, like Dan said, why don't we elect a Democratic president in 2008 and they take office in 2009? Hundreds of our soldiers, thousands of Iraqi people will be killed by then. There'll be least chance for stabilization of the Middle East if we wait that long. I believe that impeachment is necessary to restore rule of law to this country, but to also, in the future, prevent abuses of executive power. And when Dan said that it would harm Democrats' chances for taking over the White House, that's not even historically correct. And in my lifetime, we've had 2 impeachment proceedings. And Clinton's impeachment, although he was impeached in the House and he wasn't found guilty in the Senate, a Republican took office the very next term. And after Nixon, a Democrat took office in the very next term. So if our congresspeople step out in humanity and do the right thing instead of the politically expedient thing, where we took over 1 million signatures to John Conyers on petitions demanding impeachment. While we were there, he was getting one call every 30 seconds. And we know that the majority of the country wants Dick Cheney impeached, and almost the majority wants George Bush impeached. So I think we would stand behind them.
Dan Gerstein, you're the former aide to the independent senator of Connecticut, Joseph Lieberman. You now write for Politico, the website. Your thoughts?
Well, I think what the impeachment movement has done is produced a very strong indictment of the Bush administration's record, from the disastrous war in Iraq to the NSA surveillance program to the damaging, incredibly damaging work they've done to our standing in the world. What I don't think they've done is provided a compelling case or compelling evidence that President Bush has committed high crimes and misdemeanors. I think we have to ask ourselves two important questions if we're going to pursue impeachment. Is there a strong case that they committed high crimes and misdemeanors? And secondly, and more importantly, I think, is it going to be in the best interest of the country, our government, and the American people? I think on the latter question, as I said in your billboard, the most important thing Democrats can do to take the country in a new direction and repair the damage that the Bush administration has done is to retake the White House in 2008. My personal feeling, and I think a lot of Democrats who are very angry at the Bush administration, nonetheless believe that an impeachment proceeding, A, will not be successful. You need a minimum of 16 Republican senators to convict the president. That's just not going to happen. It's completely unrealistic to think on the evidence that we have now that we're going to be able to convict George Bush. Then, so what is the cost of engaging in that process? Not only will we not be doing the work of the American people for a long time, well, any chance of ending the war in Iraq, dealing with health care, dealing with a range of issues that are important to the progressive community, completely off the table for the next year. More importantly, I think what it will have, the political effect it will be to galvanize the Republican base, energize them, and really take away a lot of the advantage that Democrats have right now, in large part because the Republicans are split and dispirited. What that does, in essence, is make the 2008 election potentially a jump ball and put at risk our chances of taking the White House back.
Senator Sheehan.
Well, also in Article 2, Clause 4, it says for treason and bribery and other high crimes and misdemeanors. I believe that, and there's legal proof out there, that when he commuted Scooter Libby's sentence, he committed treason, because Scooter Libby was convicted of obstructing justice in the cover-up of the Bush administration outing Valerie Plame. And I believe that the American people will be behind this. The Democrats aren't trying to end the war. They just gave George Bush $120 billion more to wage it. And he has said the troops aren't coming home while he's president. So I think we need to look at it as human-based and not political. John Conyers told me in a meeting previously to the one we had on Monday that winning the presidency in 2008 was more important to him than ending the war in Iraq. When are our leaders going to, I guarantee there's 150,000 mothers in this country who's more important to them to end the war in Iraq and get their children home safely than who's president in 2008. And I think historically, when impeachment has been tried, like I said before, the party who tried it, even though it hasn't been successful, it has galvanized the base of that party to say, wow, our leaders are courageous, our leaders have integrity, our leaders are leading us from a moral base, not from political expediency.
Can I just respond to that point real quick? Because I think this goes to the heart of my argument, which is that in 1998, as a matter of fact, that the impeachment effort by the Republicans, which did not have the support of the American people and was completely unjustified, helped galvanize and outrage the Democratic base and in the turnout, so that the first time, I believe in history, that in the sixth year of a two-term president, the president's party picked up seats in a congressional midterm election. That just hasn't happened in American history, and most analysts attribute that to the fact that the Republicans went against the will of the American people and went on this witch hunt against Bill Clinton. So I think that historical parallel suggests to me that there's a real risk if Democrats overreach and pursue a quixotic impeachment process against George Bush, that it will help galvanize the Republican base in a similar way.
Dan, do you think that the Democrats should have tried to impeach Nixon?
Yes, absolutely. And I think there was clearly a much more compelling case that Richard Nixon committed high crimes and misdemeanors on the public record. A, B, the American people believed it, which is not an insignificant part, because no matter what the evidence is, this is a political process, as Cindy knows. And ultimately, you have to have public will on your side, or you have to be able to bring public will to your side. And I don't think in the last year to 18 months of the Bush administration, we're going to be able to pull the American people to a point where they're going to see this as an effort to oust a president who's committed high crimes and misdemeanors, rather than a partisan thing, because this will become very, very partisan.
We're going to break, but we're going to come back to this discussion, and we'll also